As we honor listening, so we recognize the importance of reporting, of communicating out in a great way that we also honor the listening in. And the Art of Reporting Award acknowledges a media professional whose reporting contributes to public awareness and understanding about genetic advancements or advocacy organizations and their impact on real people's lives. So I'd like to ask our nominator tonight, Colleen Zach, who is the founder and the president of ARPKD CHF Alliance, to come up and present tonight's award for the art of reporting.
Hi. 18 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autosomal recessive polycystic kidney disease and congenital hepatic fibrosis. I was happily anticipating his arrival, and a few months later, I was planning for his funeral. Antiquated, obsolete information was disseminated at that time, and it continues to be disseminated. This article that Gautam Naik wrote about is about a woman whose name is Jennifer. It's a real life story. And she actually has lived my story, which was being given antiquated, obsolete information. They told her there was no hope for survival, and they suggested that she abort. Her husband wanted her to do that, and against his wishes, she carried to term. And Gautam wrote about that very eloquently and accurately, and he was very factual about it. He didn't sensationalize the story, yet he wrote about the raw emotions that occur when you have a prenatal diagnosis. And I think what he did also is that he brought attention to prenatal diagnosis, not just for our disease process, but for all disease processes that are prenatally diagnosed, because anybody that has been in that situation knows that it is a really horrible situation, and it's a very difficult decision to make whether to carry to term or to abort. And for that reason, I nominated him, and I'm very thankful that he brought attention to our disease process, but to the whole situation. So, would you please come up?
For your ability to describe genetic conditions with truth and sensitivity.
Extend my warmest thanks to Colleen for helping me find the story, and also to the Genetic Alliance for being the impetus right at the very beginning to find various patients who would speak to me. I write about science for the Wall Street Journal, and it runs the gamut of physics, chemistry, just about any subject that falls under the science banner. But genetics holds a particular interest for me for two reasons. One is, I truly believe that it's going to transform medicine like almost nothing else has before. I think we're only beginning to see its effect right now because it hasn't moved fully into the clinic yet, but it very soon will. But I think there's another reason, and that's because there's a dark side to this genetics revolution. I'm a reporter, I'm afraid you're going to hear a dark side. So we have the benefits of genetics. You have early diagnosis, you have the ability to get treatments early, and the dark side is, I guess, that this information, which is predictive, is very inaccurate. It's very probabilistic. You can be told that you have a 25% chance of getting prostate cancer or 40% chance of getting breast cancer, and you don't know what to do with that information. So what attracted me to this subject was the fact that real people's lives were being affected in very real ways as had never happened before. Suddenly they're being told to make decisions, life and death decisions, wrenching decisions, based on inadequate information. And as the genetic revolution rolls along, I think more of this imprecise data is going to cause more of these difficult patient choices. So I chose this one couple and wrote about the very tough situation where their unborn child was diagnosed with a genetic ailment, and the mother was told that it probably wouldn't survive. And the husband and the wife were at loggerheads. They clashed on this. The husband wanted to terminate the pregnancy, said, we'll try again, we don't have the money for this, it's going to wrench us apart in terms of our relationship. And the wife wanted to give it a try. She said, even if this child doesn't survive, I would have done my best for it. It was a very real problem. And she put her foot down and prevailed. And, the child, Parker, is doing fine right now. The other point I want to make is that, as a reporter, it's just astonishing to me that people like the Cardins, who I wrote about, would invite me into their living room, literally, into their lives, and into the darkest recesses of their marriage, full of tension and problem, and they speak to me about it. I put their story on the front page of the newspaper. It's just extraordinary to me, but I'm not sure I would be so keen to speak to someone like me and divulge everything. They told me about, having massive fights, throwing dinner plates at each other, about, the husband mentioned how after a while they were sleeping back to back. I mean, this is really private information, and I want to take my hat off to all the patients and the advocacy groups who support them, who are willing to speak to people like me and allow their stories to be heard around the world. So thank you very much. It's been a great honor.